Hello and welcome along to the start of a brand new season of this FM19 story, part of the furniture with me, Daniel. It's season 9, episode 1, and today we're going to be going through all of the summer business at Torquay United. There's plenty of it as well. In addition to that, we've got some other stories off the pitch, plenty of action going on in and around the club, and we'll talk about our tactic for the new season. Has it changed or not? You'll have to stick around to find out. As always, a massive thanks to everyone for your continued support and following of the series. If you are new to the channel, then subscribe for daily Football Manager content. I really do appreciate it. But obviously those of you that have been following will know we're going to be in the Championship for the third year in a row. And after finishing 13th in both of our first two seasons in this division, we've got one more year until we move into our new stadium, and we just need to secure survival again this year. It's not about getting promoted this time around. We'd absolutely love to be up there and in the picture, but until we move into this new stadium, we're not going to be able to compete financially, although it would be an absolutely lovely surprise if we moved into our new stadium as well as getting promoted to the Premier League. If the first game there was the club's first one in the top tier, it would be absolutely magical, but I think that's asking a bit much given the financial restrictions we've got. But let's go and look at the transfer news. You've probably seen the main bit on this screen already, but we're going to go and look properly to find out. There's a couple of little bits going on at the moment. We're getting lots of offers for Bobby Duncan and Adam Lewis, but while they're around the £2 or £3 million mark, they're going absolutely nowhere. We're looking for that 10 million figure again, although with these ones in their mid-20s, possibly a little bit more ambitious. So let's look at our transfer history. We start on the screen with our released players. There's not many you'll recognise here, probably just the top name and bottom name. So Isaac Fletcher we got on a free a couple of years ago, only went out on loan, didn't ever cut it. He's still got that potential, but he's not really developing off the pitch, and as a result we've let him go. He's on trial with Swindon at the moment. I'm not sure what tier they're in. They're a League 2 side this year, so hopefully he'll be able to make an EFL career. He's certainly a decent youngster and deserves a chance. Alfie Adams is the only youngster I want to point out. He was on loan at our affiliate club Truro last year and got top scorer in the National League South, so I hope he'll get an opportunity in the game, although it's certainly not going to be at this level. And then the only one who's really played a part in our first team, Jordan Stevens, the central midfielder, wanted a £2.5 grand wage rise a week despite the fact he was going to be a backup, and as a result we've let him go. 41 league appearances for us over last season in the Championship and 2 years before that in League 1, where he joined in January and played a good part in our promotion. So although we've lost 110 grand here, he did a really decent job and we're still pretty happy with him. We would have kept him as a backup, but he wanted too much of a wage increase. So hopefully he finds himself a move as well. I didn't check did anyone want him. They don't at the moment, so it looks like he's going to have to reduce his wage demands or face being a free agent and retiring. But time to focus on the screen you all want to talk about. Let's go to the transfers in and out. We've made a huge profit yet again, although we have spent a little bit of money this summer. Ironically, we've made one mistake in this window, and it's probably the player we spent the most on, although we have recouped at least 10 times the amount, mainly from the sale of one player. It's the one we were expecting, but you still never like to see it on the screen. We're still losing star players, and we're still a selling club. So let's go through the outs first. Lee Davis was planned a long time ago. He's a young centre-half who Hibernian snapped up, but since they've signed him, he's had various injuries. He continues to be injury-prone, and unfortunately a lot of his potential's now gone. But I obviously hope he reaches his potential. He's still got that 50% sell-on fee. James Devine, who was a backup, he threatened to get into the first team a few times, but never quite made it in the end. Let's see how many league appearances he made in total. It's 11 appearances he's made, a few in League 1, 2 and the Championship. We signed him for £15 apparently, and we've sold him for £52,000 for Rotherham. So he's still going to be involved at a Championship club, and hopefully long term he'll get a chance there. He's got a decent amount of potential, but he's never quite looked like fulfilling it. We sold Dinel Simiu, one of our backup centre-halves. He's been out on loan over the last couple of seasons, had 1 year as a backup. I think it was the season we went up from League 1. It was indeed. He joined us on a free from Chelsea, and after those 2 loan spells, he's now gone to Israel for £500,000. So a very good profit for us. and hopefully he'll do well there. We don't wish bad luck on any of the players that leave the club. They've all played a part in this fantastic rise, whether they've been involved on the pitch, behind the scenes, or just been part of the club at the time of our success. The next one who's gone is Anthony Ralston, the right wing back. We bought him back from his loan last January, but then gave Richard Quirk the chance instead. He's gone to Colchester. We basically doubled our money on him, as well as making money for the loan last year. So plenty of good news across the board there, and we hope he does well at Championship level. Again with Colchester, who stayed up last season after Shibola beat us on the last day of the season. Next along the list is David Crawford. This is the main one of the summer. We expected him to go. It may or may not lead to a change in formation and tactic. £11 million in guaranteed money, with a possible future million if he makes another 5 appearances for Northern Ireland. He's a regular in the team, so we'd expect him to do that. But 105 appearances and 18 goals. He was sensational in our first season in the Championship. He was really good in our promotion season from League One, but slightly disappointed last year, with his heart set on a move most of the time. So he's gone to Wolves in the Premier League. We've managed to get our 50% sell on as always, so hopefully we'll be able to get a bit more money into the club, as we have with many other players. While we're talking about sell-on fees, Owen Jack, the player we sold a year and a half ago, he led Crystal Palace to the title last year. He was absolutely sensational and is a Premier League player now. We managed to sell on his future fee as well. We got another £4.5 million for him. His was only 30 or 40%, but it still works out a really good deal for the club. So overall, we've managed to get about 20 million for him. So I'm absolutely delighted and wish him the best of luck in the Premier League. Let's go back to the rest of the sales then. All loans from this point onwards, and there's a couple of familiar names, 1 or 2 we've signed in the summer. We'll look at those in a minute, but Ian Brunt, the backup keeper, he's been replaced by a youngster we got in on a free. Cliff Wheeler's just going to get some football, the young striker, mainly because we signed another option. He's starting to develop really well, and a season of first team football could be all he needs to become an absolute superstar. Connor Courts, the young right back, he's gone out again, this time to Dundee United. He should be a Scotland international soon. He's really developing well and plays well wherever he goes. And then Lee Turner, the young right midfielder, made his debut on the final day of last season. That was in the last episode against Colchester. He's gone out to League 2 with Wickham, and hopefully he'll play in a formation that suits him. If he does well, hopefully he'll come back and make a name for himself, but we've got to accept that that might not come. But it's good that we're producing professional standard footballers. So plenty of news there. We've left the other 2 because they feature on this side of the screen. You may recognise one of the names, and it proves that we were right and that we'd got a magnificent deal for them when they left the club initially. So let's go through the ins. Plenty of names on this list, a lot more than we've had in the last couple of years. So the first is one of the best signings of the summer, Frank Hall on a free agent deal from Celtic. His contract expired and we snapped him up. He's a 3.5-star striker with 4-star potential, an under-21 international for Scotland, 16 finishing, 14 heading, 15 composure, 14 acceleration. He's got all the attributes to be a superstar, made a couple appearances for Celtic and scored goals out on loan at Inverness. He's really got the potential to be something special, and although he's left-footed, he likes to run down the right-hand side. There's some strange player traits going on there, but I've got to add he has placing shots, which is one of my favourite player traits of them all. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him here, and if Bobby Duncan does end up going, this could be the perfect replacement. If not, we've got 3 brilliant strikers, and that's something that will make a difference from last year. The next one is possibly our big regret of the window. We spent $775,000 activating a release clause for a young left back from Dundalk, and unfortunately it looks like we're not playing a formation to suit him now, so he might not get much game time. He's a very good player, 3-star ability, 4.5 potential, 6 caps for the Republic of Ireland already at 21, looks an absolute superstar, but I just don't know where he fits in. With the likes of Adam Lewis still about, I'm not sure if he'll get a game. Again, similarly to David Crawford, really has a struggle with natural fitness, so we'll be working on that in the coming months, but hopefully we'll find a place for him, even if we have to train him as a centre-half, to play on that left-hand side as a ball-playing defender, or maybe even as a central midfielder, where he seems to have good defensive attributes. We'll try and work out what we're going to do with him, but either way, hopefully we'll make a profit, even if we have to sell him in 6 months' time. The next one along the list is the free goalkeeper, Andy Walsh from Liverpool, 2-star ability, 4-star potential. He's young enough this season that he can play in the under-18s. as well as being our backup goalkeeper for the first team. So that's why we've allowed Brunt to go out on loan, and we're going to be working on his positioning and composure over the coming months. I'm looking forward to having him here. I think he's going to be a decent signing. We're not expecting anything special, but as long as he does okay, we'll be happy enough with a free agent. Let's move on to the next one. Trevor Chalobah, a name that's quite well known for FM players in the lower leagues. 325,000 from Northampton, a centre-half who comes in to replace James Baldock, the middle of that three central defenders, 3.5 ability, 3.5 potential, an experienced player at 27, not the sort of signing we normally go for, but now we have got to get a bit of experience in and make sure we survive this year. Really good physically, the lad. Got pace, got strength, got stamina. That's all we can really ask for. He's okay technically and mentally, but hopefully that'll be enough. Versatile if we ever play with a back four. Versatile if we have a holding midfielder. He's going to give us plenty of options and be a really decent signing. In terms of the fees we've got for players we've let go, he costs less than we got for Simiu or Ralston, which is absolutely magnificent. So a really good signing there. And the man who decided the formation we'll play this year comes next. Ian McCann on a free from Blackburn, a 3.5 star attacking midfielder, 4-star potential, a direct replacement for Crawford, a different type of player, likes to be an attacking midfielder rather than that technical playmaker, and he's going to be an absolute superstar. A brilliant long shot rating which could be interesting, and plenty of pace and stamina to get in behind. We've promised him a top half finish, so we've got to finish higher than the last 2 years. If we can nick 12th place, he'll be happy, and I very much will be too. The next one along is Freddie Waters, a free agent signing from Derby, a young left back and left wing back. He's at 23, but he's got really high potential, so we just thought we'd give him a last chance to make it. Not the best personality, but a decent player all round. We've signed him and loaned him out to Yeovil for a season of first team football, and hopefully he'll come on leaps and bounds and then have a chance for us next year. If not, we'll sell him on for 100 grand or so, and we've made a little bit of a profit. Yeovil paying all of his wages. It's a no-lose situation. Next, I guess, is the third of 3 players we paid a decent fee for this summer. Jim Dysart, I think that is. Dysart, maybe. Let me know which one's right. Just over £500,000 from Everton. A really solid central midfielder. 3-star ability, 4-star potential. Really good technical ability where it's needed. A good passer, good first touch. Really solid work rate. Decent mentally and good stamina and pace as well. We're really looking forward to having him here and hoping he can reach his potential. We're going to train him as a playmaker, either deep lying or attacking, but the fact he can cover in the holding row and centre half as well, despite having none of the attributes for it, mean his versatility could be useful. He's actually made 14 appearances for Everton. They're all in the Premier League, so that's a really good sign for us that he's made appearances off the bench. They obviously saw something in him, and he got 2 goals at that level as well. He's been on loan in League One and the Championship plenty of times, so playing in the EFL isn't going to be alien to him. Most of these guys we get in, they end up being players that have never played a professional game or just had a loan spell in non-league 3 years ago. This is one who's had plenty of football, and I really think he could be an asset for us. That's why we were happy to pay a little bit of money, although he is probably going to be pushed out of the first 11 due to our next loan signing from Blackburn. Colm Lehan, I think that is. Again, let me know if I've pronounced it wrong. 4-star central midfielder, 4.5 potential. He looks an absolute superstar. I'm wondering if Blackburn are in the Premier League. They are. That's the reason they've been selling these kids. And hang on, I've got to go back. Juan Foyth, the young Tottenham defender, £49 million value. He's become an absolute superstar. I wouldn't have expected that based on the performances I've seen in real life, but obviously the FM researchers rate him highly. We've got a good player on our hands here in Lehan though. He's going to be a really good starting central midfielder, although he's not quite fit to start the game today. He'll make his debut off the bench. I'm really impressed that he's got that passing range and vision though, and the stamina that means he can play 2 games in a week. Plenty of positive signs there. So many good players coming in. The next one's not so much in that category. He's more of a minor calculated gamble. It's John Richards, our former central midfielder. If you remember rightly, we sold this guy to West Ham for £4 million. We were absolutely baffled we got a January deal for him. He had one loan spell at Morecambe, who have done well there. They've got themselves up into League One as well, and now he's come back to us the following season, and then we've loaned him out to Bradford, who are also in the Championship, so he can get football at a higher level. level. He previously made 19 appearances for us, but the 39 he got for Morecambe are surely going to be more valuable for his career. We'll see what goes on at Bradford, whether he can get in the team or not. His stats haven't really developed at all, but he's still a hard worker, so with plenty of games he may be able to develop. The last one we signed is another defensive option though, from our parent club Liverpool for £60,000, and Mika Obi I think it is. Again, the pronunciation's possibly wrong. He's a young central defender who can cover in both fullback positions and he's decent at wingback if really needed, but he's a solid young option at 19 years of age, 3-star ability, 4-star potential, professional personality, good positional sense and decent physically, a fairly brave player and a good decision maker. Could be a really solid option for us at centre half in the future, though he's just going to be a backup player this year. So I certainly think it's been a decent summer, and in fact as we've gone along and looked at these signings again, putting them all together, I think it's probably been more than a decent summer. For the fact we've only lost one first team player and then a couple of our backups from last year, I think we've replaced them with some really good pros, and some of them like Shalabar could really help the young lads develop too, so there's a win-win situation for us, and I'm sure we won't be involved in a relegation battle this year. Though the last 2 years when I thought we would be, we were absolutely nowhere near it, so it could be reverse mentality this year and we could get caught up in one. But fingers crossed that won't be the case. Let me know down in the comments what you think of these signings. Who do you think's going to be the pick of the bunch? And who are you most looking forward to seeing develop? In a moment we'll round off by showing you the tactic we're going to use for the season, but firstly I just want to show you a couple of other bits of news off the pitch. There's some important ones for our development as a club, as well as our stadium being built for the end of this season. We also managed to agree another training facilities upgrade, as well as a youth one as well. The sale of Crawford has obviously taken the element of risk out of that now, but the reason we asked for those two is because Owen Jack's sell-on clause came through, and once we got that extra £4.5 million, we decided that we could go for those two. So interesting news there. We've also had an upgrade to our youth recruitment. That's something that's been really important over the last couple of years, as we finally started to produce our own talented players. So if we look at the facility screen now, we've got the highest junior coach and we can't upgrade that again. We've now got an extensive youth recruitment, which I think is one of the best, if not the best description to have. We've got great training facilities and average youth facilities. Hopefully those upgrades will improve it again. It looks like we've got to focus on the youth ones after this year, though once we get to the Premier League, the money will start to flow in. So as we've discussed before, we've got one more season before we move into our new 15,000 stadium. It's still got expansion room as well, and that's going to be a huge boost for us and will hopefully allow us to compete with championship clubs, as we'll be bringing in 3 times the amount of revenue and competing with clubs on a similar level. It'll give us a real chance to attack season 10 and get for the Premier League, but none of that will be possible if we don't secure survival this year and have a solid season and develop some of these youngsters. So let's see how those signings have affected the dynamics. Everything's still in the green, and obviously the early results in the season will change that. Hopefully for the more positive, but obviously it can go the other way too. Team cohesion's a bit lower than normally at this stage of the season, but that's just because we've made a few more signings. We did tweak some of the tactical instructions as well, but as you can see, we've decided to stick to the same formation. That's mainly because of the signing of McCann and the fact we were able to get some central midfielders in too. The only other bit of news that you didn't see on the transfer screen is that Darren Mapley's staying for another year, another central midfield option, which make things a little bit easier for us this year. But largely the starting 11 for the first game of the season will be the same. You'll see that match in tomorrow's episode, where hopefully we can get off to a good start. We've never lost our first game of the championship season, although it has only been 2 years and they've both been home games. This season we're going away from home, so it may be a little bit more difficult. Let me just put Lahan on a bench or I'll forget before the next episode we record. Still plenty of youngsters in and around the squad. Richard Quirk, the young right back, he's coming on leaps and bounds. Now 2.5-star ability already, looks an absolute superstar. John Gerrard's picked up a knock, but he'll still be our 4th striker. We're considering selling McGeever. He's had injuries and is starting to decline and isn't looking like he's going to reach his potential now. His potential ability's actually dropped 1/2 a star too, so that may make things a little bit more difficult for his development. The only other decision we've made is to drop Emmanuel Fibrasima into the under-18s again. We're going to boost him again shortly, but he's developed his personality a bit and now just needs some football. He'll come up for cup ties and things like that, but for now we're not going to worry too much. And then we've got a couple of other youngsters. Hill made his debut on the last day of last season. And then we've got the likes of Joe Edwards and Eustace Bertrand as well. All of them we've got to keep an eye on, as well as another young keeper in Willard Unlove, who's going to be a potential first team squad player too. So all in all, I think it's a really positive episode. If we go and look at the schedule, you can see the first game of the season's away to Bristol City. That's going to be a really tough test. We've got the start of September with West Ham away. They've been in a relegation battle the last couple of years, but I think if I remember rightly, they've invested this summer. Let's go and look at their transfer history. 4.1 million on a player. That's obviously the one I noticed, but they haven't done much else other than that. So it could be an interesting game that. They're getting stuck down in mid-table in this division. So they're going to be our next two episodes. We'll have the first game of the season away at Bristol City in Tuesday's episode. And then on Thursday we'll be away to West Ham. That one in September after the transfer and loan window closes. Hopefully we can bring in just one or two more players, but that relies on us getting a couple out. The likes of McGeever if he's going to get a big offer, and there's one or two squad players we'd like to see leave too. But I'll finish on the squad screen to remind you of all the names. Let me know down in the comments who you think's going to be important for us this year. Have I made the right choice by sticking with the formation? We do struggle defensively with it a bit, but in an attacking sense we're so threatening, I don't know if I can change it. The only slight tactical tweaks within the formation are McCann changing to an attacking midfielder, and then our third centre-half being on defensive rather than marking tightly as a stopper and trying to win the ball too quickly. So hopefully those changes will help us out, but obviously we won't find out until we play our first game of the season. If you did enjoy this episode, please put a thumbs up on the video as always. Let me know down in the comments where you think we're going to finish this year, any risk of relegation at all, any of you think we're going to be able to push for the playoffs, or do you think it's just going to be a third season of mid-table mediocrity? Subscribe to the channel for daily FM19 content from my two long-term stories, this one part of the furniture with Torquay United, and then our Journeyman series The Head Coach, where we work under a director of football with no say in transfers or contracts. But a massive thanks for watching and your continued support with the series as always, and I hope to see you next time for the first game of the league season.